So food is good. Food is actually better than expected. But food is going to be tested here this weekend as well, as food is going to travel to Indianapolis, take on the Navy Midshipmen, 3:30 kickoff, and what could really be a defining conference test for both teams. The Owls under Scott Abel, they have shown some promise and they've shown some tremendous improvement from where they started in the preseason to where we've seen them so far up to this point today. Particularly with the last game that they played in. Rice coming off of a 28-17 road win at Charlotte, and it was a type of game where Rice actually looked a little bit more dominant than what the scoreboard suggested. Charlotte had a touchdown late that allowed them to at least pull a little bit closer to make it a two-score game, but Rice was in pretty reasonable control here, and the run-heavy option attack that's been installed by Scott Abel, it is starting to pick up some steam here as well. This was a team that ran for over 250 yards and certainly turning into a free-headed monster that you're seeing in the backfield with Chase Jenkins at that quarterback position, alongside Dalen Alexander and Clinton Jackson. They're all making significant contributions as well, getting those explosive plays on the ground and the occasional positive passing play as well. That's the thing about these run-heavy option attacks that makes them so difficult, is that every once in a while they'll throw in that wrinkle where they got a passing play thrown in there, and if you're not careful, those passing plays, you're going to get pantsed, which is why Navy is certainly no stranger to that triple option core concept as well. We know how good Navy has been, one of the better teams in the American last year. They obviously have returned Blake Horvath, as well as some dudes that are all along this offense, Alec Teskin, Eli Hendrich, and Brandon Chapman. And they've played extremely well so far this year in the early going. Granted, we thought at this point Navy was going to be, there was a real chance Navy was going to roll to a 7-0, 8-0 start, and then we were going to really see what this team was made of when they played up against Notre Dame. But Navy really living up to expectations. They've been very dominant offensively thus far, and the teams that they went up against thus far has found that out the hard way, so to speak, as they notch a couple wins in American Conference play, as well as VMI being a target as well. So this Midshipman team, they're going to be certainly aiming to build some momentum from their wins against UAB and Tulsa, leaning on that signature ground-oriented attack, discipline in terms of how trying to play a clean game from a penalty standpoint, as well as from a trying to play it from a turnover standpoint, taking care of the ball, but still looking for those explosive possibilities when defenses are trying to load up to stop the run, which you often see from a Navy offensive attack. So that all being said, let's go ahead and check out the model real quick. And the model really likes Navy, right? So I checked FanDuel shortly before recording this video, and Navy is listed as a 2-touchdown favorite. The model doesn't think that's high enough. The model actually is going with Navy as a 3-touchdown favorite. So the model is thinking that Navy is going to cover this relatively comfortably, right? But obviously what this game barrels down to, when yes, Rice, how they implement their option attack and how Navy implements their option attack, they do it in different ways. But the core concepts that they're trying to do is roughly the same because of the type of player that they're able to recruit, both for academic/military academy reasons. So when you have two teams that have a similar style of option, particularly when we're talking about the triple option, you're talking about a few things, right? You're talking about who's going to do a better job of winning that time possession, who's going to control the ball more and be more efficient with its ball control, who's going to be cleaner in terms of from that turnover perspective, as well as who's going to do a better job in the red zone. Those are really the three biggest aspects. And I think you look at all three of those aspects, I think Navy could have not a decisive advantage, but a pretty noticeable edge when it comes to being able to control all three things. Don't get it twisted. I think Rice has been an incredible story. I think what they've been able to accomplish, I think they surpassed my expectations in terms of how good I thought this team was going to be this year. And it does lead me to believe that even though this Rice football team has improved enough from where they were in the preseason to where they are right now, I do think that this is at least going to be a competitive game. I will at least say that. At the same time, though, because they run similar core concepts, but they're going up against a more experienced team and doing it in a more stable coaching staff, with this coaching staff being around a little bit longer than Scott Abel's staff down in Houston, Texas. There is a possibility that Rice does get a little bit of a reality check. So again, I think that this is a team that is improving. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch here in 2025. I still think at the same time, I think Rice is about a year away from realistically competing with the top teams in the American, and really having that realistic shot of maybe taking down the top dogs. You know, you're talking about your Navies, you're talking about the Memphis and the Tulanes of the world, right? Really trying to take down those top programs. So I will say I'm going to be in line with Josh Pate, who made it one of his best bets in Rice covering at the 14.5. But I still think that this is a game that Navy does win. I'm going to disagree with my model on this one in saying that Rice covers. So food will be spicy, but I think Navy is going to come out. They're going to still remain undefeated when we roll into the following Sunday, and Navy wins 34-23.